It's going to be a more casual discussion about the story. Also, here's your warning for spoilers for patch 2.4, at least the first half. Let's get right into what everyone's been trying to piece together, the whole fiction and sourcing as well as Christopher's forte and a little speculation about Forlova's forte as well. Why is the name so hard to say? I would never understand. So first, when we arrive in Septimon, our first interaction with the echo, it says the frequency of the echo is unstable as if there's something interfering, and the source of this interference is within the city, or at least close to the city. Right after this though, we bump into Bullying, who gives us an important note that there is chi trapped underwater, which you'll notice as you try to 100% Septimon. There are also waypoints underwater which stops you from 100%ing the map. This point that chi is underwater will it'll make sense more as we get through it. Obviously, we'll be clearing this water in the later part of the story, but it also helps us understand something quite important later on. But yeah, before she leaves, she tells us she's betting on us breaking this deadlock, the deadlock that we do not know about at least at the time of this quest. Then we jump to this scene next where we see Cartasia and Lupa. I say Lupa loosely as we know this can't be her, as we just saw her and we bumped into her. Yeah. We found out she's been trying to leave the city and has been infected with a white tidal blight. Cartasia doesn't know about the tidal blight, though assumes it's a dark tide. This conversation helps us figure out where we are. It's also pretty good to assume we're either in the future or in the past currently, but I'm leaning more on the past as you'll see later on as we go through this. Upon Cartasia's questioning, it seems that the Lupa here doesn't know her name. We then have this dream that we meet Fulova in that was possibly caused by the phonograph's melody in our room, which implies that Fulova's forte might have something to do with manipulation of sound to consciousness that allows her to affect our dreams, or more than that. Actually, who knows? I don't. This is where we get a book that shows us two different tabs, one stating fiction and another source. This book also reminds me of the book from Kikona's event quest in 2.3, where you know that one cutscene where we were trying to tell Kikona about what we found out during the past, but she just fucking vanishes from nowhere, like what's going on? And then she has this whole like monologue and dialogue thing with that piece of shit Christopher. But yeah, we go past the book for now and tackle the final fight where we find out what happened to Mia as she disappears before she receives her award, but she does claim the title Blight Argon and receives Arnosa's blessing, confirming that the flashes of Mia replacing Lupa during the scenes with Cartasia is in the past, and also the fact that means that flashback we see of Mia like crouching down, panicking right before the final of the Great Argon, she does in fact like clear the finals and go past the limits that she was fearing about. But yeah, she was also having this whole breakdown and stuff. Now during the final fight, we flash back into the past back where we are surrounded by tacit discords. Safe to assume this is the bloody Argon. We enter the cutscene and it ends with Cartasia slashing Arnosa infected by Leviathan, dripping some disgusting dark liquids. I'm just assuming that's the dark tide. Whatever. Flashback to reality after we realized we had just experienced the bloody Argon, and double confirming the Lupa and Mia connection ourselves as the rover. We enter the final cutscene of the main quest, confirming that the main villain is Christopher and his story of demise was Septimon. Now that we're fresh on his story, let's get into the speculations and what I think is happening currently. Let's break down the major confusion with most things going on, which is the book we got called Script from Fulova earlier. Running along the fiction tab, we can clearly see three routes here. Safe to assume Doomsday is the future where Cartasia nor us will here to stop, whilst the center path is Cartasia's involvement in script thus far, and the third route being the path where our involvement with the script starts, leading to Side by Side, which is the cutscene where we fought the bloody Argon while Cartasia repels the infected Arnosa. Now the second route where we have no involvement is also the route we're seeing through Cartasia's POV during the main quest. It's also safe to assume that the Lupa we're seeing is actually Mia. I'll explain it now. If you see the source side of the book, it only shows Mia's memory of her right before the finals in the Great Argon decades ago, which is that breakdown she was having right before the finals that we saw, through that bronze, can't remember what the actual object was, I'm making this half asleep. Now if this is the script, like the script of Christopher's story and us knowing from previous patches that his forte influences reality and manipulates echoes, The layout of this script properly explains how his forte works, most likely actually. With the source being how his forte starts and being able to create a sonosphere with frequencies from the past. I'm sure the connection between Mia and Lupa as his forte, trying to influence the present by repeating history of the second Dark Tide that also happened to Septimon most likely. That's why we see frequencies throughout the story from Cartasia on Lupa and various important parts, even near the flung area earlier in the story that we like stumble upon trying to find this whole like that frequency that we're chasing from Cartasia. So what I'm assuming is Cartasia went to stop Christopher from influencing Septimon's future by using the past in his Forte's tailbook and entered the Sonosphere to once again repel a Dark Tide. But this traps her in the past where his tail originates from, and she needs us to affect the current right now from letting his Forte change the trajectory of the future. Might be a stretch honestly, but it explains why we see Lupa and Cartasia flashing as Mia, because it's probably because when we see visions from present to the past due to the Forte trying to link these two together, it shifts our perception of Mia into Lupa. But the entire journey thus far, Cartasia has been on is with Mia, explaining why the Lupa that comes out of the incubator has a moment where it becomes Mia. Now the real question is, where is Mia currently? I think if we're seeing the past play out from Cartasia's POV, Mia might still be the incubator as if this entire thing never played out. But it was never broken, and the incubator is most likely in the drawn area city we're in. It's most likely what I'm just guessing here, honestly, grasping at straws. I'm also assuming that the frequency interruptions we've been experiencing during the main quest is caused by Christopher's Forte being in effect, like the whole Sonosphere stuff. I'm pretty sure his Sonosphere that he created from the past has to be affecting all the frequencies in the current timeline, seeing as how the Sea of Ghosts during Cantarella's companion quest that we do also affects the entire castle, if you remember that at least. But yeah, I'm also still unsure about Frollo's involvement in all this, but it seems like she might temporarily be our ally for this story, at least until we manage to screw over Christopher's tail. What I wonder really is if Christopher is directly working with the Children of Whispers, because he did work with Fenrico during the previous quest line and stuff like that. Like, I feel like we've seen enough of Christopher during the past main quest and his ability to transport Kikon into the past to confirm that he distorts reality with the past and he uses that as a basis to affect the future and or like the present, stuff like that. It also helps that he has been talking about being a playwright and revisiting old tales and stories to get an inspiration for his plays. Though I never really fucking thought that his damn play would be the flipping main quest of Septimon, but well, here we are. Alright, let's wrap this up with some final thoughts, but I personally think we'll definitely find out what happened to Mia after she disappeared. Like after she finished the bloody Argon and then she just poofed, you know. She's either in the incubator underwater in the present where she's like completely corrupted or woken or something else entirely. I'm not quite sure. But I'm pretty sure Christopher's Forte with the hints and the story elements we've been given thus far, like I'm like 95% sure I'm like pretty accurate with guessing his whole Forte and how it like plays with the past. And yeah, let's get scared over this. I also really don't know where we're going with the bullying quest line and how did she know anything beforehand, along with whether Chuyen will appear, seeing as how, you know, their designs are pretty similar and stuff like that. Almost like, I don't know, she knowing everything beforehand is kind of crazy to me, and her having the same aesthetic as Chuyen and Jianxin is kind of like, I feel connection somewhere here. I've also seen the other theories where the current Septimon we're seeing has already fallen to the Dark Tide, and what we're experiencing right now is all an illusion. But I'm very doubtful of this being true, as both Augusta and Yuno are the current heads of Septimon. I'm pretty sure we'll be working with Yuno more with her Farsight ability, otherwise there'll be no reason to introduce them to us and create such an opportunity to interact with them via winning the Great Argon and stuff like that. Also, just in case you forgot, this also confirms that Mia is infected with the White Tidal Blight, which on the tooltip tells us is an effect of the Dark Tide and is a corruption, which we see in the flashes of Mia in the story that she's basically fully corrupted. But I'm also assuming she's either weakened or about to fall in our current timeline, which might be the reason why Christopher is trying to tie Mia with Lupa, and Mia probably being the reason why the second Dark Tide happened in Septimon. And Lupa, this is supposed to be the third dark tide, which we're currently in the middle of a confusing as fuck crisis storm. Basing this on the fact that we know that Carthagesia's coronation was the cause of the second dark tide. But yeah, I really don't want this to drag on any longer, but if you have any other theories or ideas on what we'll see in the second half of 2.4, I'll be really happy to read and discuss them. With that said, thank you for watching, and please leave a like if you enjoy this kind of Wuthering Waves videos. I'll probably do more if there's at least 10 likes, but yeah. Till then, see you next time. Ja ne?